Özeti duyarsın. Bu da çok şeker. Geçiyor. şeyini atın, konuşmacıları atın. Çünkü çok önemli konuşmacılar. Japonya. Yönlendirmesiniz. Ben size atacağım. Teşekkür ederim.
Ben oralara gidiyorum. Çıkışta ben gideceğim şey yoksa gideceğiz. Gideceksiniz eğer. Direkt eve gideceksiniz, gidebilirsiniz. Bak konuştuk.
Çünkü öyle yazdığı şeyde
Hoş geldiniz. Bu organizasyon İngilizce olacak ama ben başta bir en azından Türkçe herkese hoş geldiniz demek istedim. So we are here to talk about data analytics and its social impact. I'm really excited about this event that we have organized. We have been talking about this since December with TTGV and IE and MEF Üniversitesi. And I think it's going to be a very exciting afternoon. Data is becoming a part of our life, a bigger part of our life every day. And I think we all should focus on how data make our lives better from a social perspective. That's why we wanted to bring everybody's attention to this particular slice of data analytics. So we have a very exciting afternoon planned for you. We are going to have the first part of the afternoon till 3:40. After 3:40, we are going to have a little break, 20 minutes or so. And then after the break, there's going to be a case competition plus a case presentation. So if you have any questions about the case competition, during the break, please find me or Sibel or Josep from IE. Without further ado, I'm going to have Chairman of the Executive Board of TTGV, Cengiz Ultav, to give us a keynote speech.
Thank you very much. Welcome. I'll try to keep it short if I can suppress my excitement about big data. I've been very much influenced by two thinkers in this respect. One of them is Barack Khanna, who is advising Singapore government, Chinese government on all these new technological innovations around big data. And the other one is Jeremy Rifkin, who is also advising European Union and the US on a similar tone. What I have been able to, gather for myself is the real impact of the change that we are living through, the digital change. But it has been a result of almost 450 years of continued innovation in a lot of areas. Started with in the 17th century with Enlightenment, then went on with liberty, then imperialism and capitalism, and the last 50 years of technology, which unfortunately worked for its internal energy most of the time. But this time that we are living through is really important, because what happened in these 450 years is a system has developed. We have now organizations on the streets, in cities, in hospitals, in universities, that are based on all these development of 450 years. But what we are seeing in this, kind of a physical environment of 64 million kilometers of highways, 2.5 million kilometers of pipelines, 250,000 kilometers of borders and things like that, is some kind of a rigidity and a tap on the potential. Looks like the organizations that we have developed until now based on this base is only enough to make 3 billion people a decent life. And if we scale up to 7.5 billion people, what we are seeing exactly around us is we are losing the atmosphere, we are losing the people to extremism, and we are also now started to dig into the center of the world with, fracking and this and that, and the conclusions of these are yet to be found out. But there are a lot of people who are looking for alternative systems, alternative organizations, and these two people that I've talked about are advising progressive governments around the world how the next 50 years are going to look like. And in this respect, sharing economy, which is exemplified by the initial, innovations like Uber, Airbnb, Vonolo, Kickstarter, and things like that. But we should take note that all these, sharing economy examples coming from the capitalistic world is in version 1.0 now. And when we look into year 225, when these sharing organizations come to versions 4.0, 5.0, they are going to be more integrated with social objectives. And on the other hand, this requires a lot of multi-domain and multicultural collaboration. The things that we have to solve for the new generations, Y and Z generations, in the coming 20 to 50 years, requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of sharing, and a lot of knowledge and wisdom build up around the big data that is already available to almost all of us who have either a small access to the networked world, which is growing every day. When we, I myself think that 3D is data, design, and digital. We start with this big data that everything, almost every dynamic data and every sort of passive data has already been identified with its location and available to everybody who wants to be able to touch it, build on it, and take it all the way from knowledge to wisdom to a lot of applications and services for the benefit of the new generations. And this is really describing how the organizations, how the sharing economy, and how the next 20 years are going to be built up. And in this respect, there are a lot of examples coming up, and I would like to share with you two examples that are very meaningful for me. One is coming from the Turkish society. She's a young woman, Tülin Akın, maybe some of you may know about her, and she has a company called Tabit. 7 years ago, she came to us, to TTGV, and told us that she wanted to help simple farmers. Not farmers with big farms and things like that, but maybe 10 decars or so. And her plan during that time was to have a subscription base of farmers of 10,000 farmers. She tried to provide them with second-hand smartphones, picked up from all over the world. She was able to do that in 6 months. She delivered these smartphones to these 10,000 small farmers. Then she set up a data center for herself. And this data center, from the big data world, she gathered all the chemical composition information about the soil of her farmers. Then she accessed meteorological information. Then she accessed macroeconomic database. And also she accessed demand big data from her data center. And then she started by an SMS system, a simple network, and telling her farmers what to, put in the soil, what to grow, when to water, when to pick them up, and that's how she started 7 years ago. But in 2014, she was selected for a new category of Nobel Prize. Unfortunately, not many people in Turkey know about this, but in 2014, she was one of the 5 nominees for a new category, which is Business for Peace. And now, today, she has 1.4 million small farmers in 7 different countries, Turkey, South Africa, Kenya. She's providing them all these big database to these information to these farmers on these 3 different categories of big data. And then she is also doing a lot of things on the sharing economy. She's placing on different parts of the world sowing equipment that can be shared between these farmer base. And finally, in Turkey, villages are becoming empty, People are coming to the cities. And in one of these villages in Seti region, which is an agricultural region, only 50 people have remained from 1,000 people. She came to this village, re-educated the old people, remaining people there as pensioners, then turned this whole village into an agricultural academy. She's now taking these farmers in small numbers, giving them new information about what they can do in this new world of technology. And it is how big data and entrepreneurs are meeting and making a different world for all of us. And one of the things that the German government is doing is also very impressive for me, and I'd like to share that with you as well. A lot of countries, are very enthusiastic about building electric cars and driverless cars and things like that. Of course, from a technological perspective, that looks very good. But one of the studies that has been made in Germany just determines all locations with population more than 5,000 people and alternative roads that are coming to these regions of where people live. And they program a subset of roads and ask the question, what if we close this subset of roads to fossil fuel and driven cars? What if we make them all electric cars and driverless cars? What is the impact of this? And the result is impressive, because if we can block all the other, fossil cars, 1 ton, weight, then the cars can be made from cardboard, or they can be made from glass, because the accident possibility is brought down very close to zero. And if you look at the energy efficiency impact of this, the ferrochromium mines, where you spend the energy to dig the world, then turn them into rods or raw iron, then press them into steel plates, then press them into formation of the cars, and for kilometers and kilometers carry every driver with him about 800 kilograms of weight. And the impact when big data in a well-programmed environment gets rid of the accident possibilities and the results that you can have in all other areas, that is going to make the world a more livable place for all of us. So I believe there are lots of energy possibilities that big data in the hands of young people who want to really change the world, make it a more livable place. I think there are lots of opportunities, and I believe no one will be able to trump on it. Thank you very much.
Teşekkür ederiz. Thank you very much for that inspiring talk, Cengiz Bey. Next, we're going to have Marcos Ramirez Amoretti from IE School of Human Sciences and Technology. He's going to talk to us about social impact of data sciences. I'm going to go ahead and bring up his presentation.
Is there a clicker or should I?
Let's see if it works.
Thank you. Thank you, Özgür. So, well, hello everyone. How are you? Good. So, well, welcome today. I hope you have energy for those ones who are participating at the case competition later on. So, I will be very brief with this introduction to the impact of data science and big data into society today. So, I wanted to put you in context by asking you to take a look to this circle that you have over here. So, take a look one moment and see the amount of data that we have generated just in one internet minute last year, 2016. So as you can see, we have a lot of information coming from all these different applications. So, for example, WhatsApp has generated only in 1 minute over 20 million text messages, or over 150 million emails sent per minute. So imagine the amount of information that we're generating only in 1 minute. So this is the reason why companies and why businesses, why governments need this new generation of experts, as you were mentioning, this new generation of people who can make a change and impact society through the use of data science, in order to be able to extract all the relevant insights that you can get out of that information and create an impact in our society. So what is big data really? Well, you will figure it out for those ones who are not familiar with the topic today, and for those ones who are familiar with the topic, you will have the opportunity as well to put in practice those skills and learn more about the impact of data science in our society today. So a lot of people talk about big data, and everyone mentions this concept, but very few know what is in reality. So at IE, we have an approach of making our students to think how to get the most relevant insights out of the information that they are analyzing in order to create an impact into their businesses and the society. So here we have this slide, just very quickly, to highlight some of the areas in which data science is creating an impact today. So as you can see, it's transforming several types of industries, but also it's impacting our society. As you can see, media entertainment, politics, sports, manufacturing, automotive sector, or even government are being impacted through the use of data science. So imagine the amount of solutions that this new generation of professionals could find for today in order to make a huge change in our world. So this is the reason why we need data scientists today, in order to be able to create this impact. So everyone talks that data scientist is one of the sexiest jobs of the 21st century, and I'm sure that you have heard that. Everyone talks about these new experts, these new professionals, but which are the skills that these professionals need in reality in order to become successful and be part of this sexiest job of the 21st century? So these are the skills that these professionals need in order to become successful. And these are the skills also that we're looking forward to see on your business cases today, the ones that are competing there. So technology and programming in order to transform data, that's quite important. Statistics and mathematics, obviously, in order to be able to apply quantitative methods. Business approach, that's essential as well in order to understand the needs of that particular business in order to create an impact. But finally, you have these skills. Communication. It's very important to understand how to communicate effectively those insights that you are finding on your information. So data science is a multidisciplinary job. which combines different areas. As we can see here, it's a combination between mathematics, technology, but also business and strategy acumen. And this results in data science. So you need to take in mind that it's a role that requires constant improvement. So the ideal data scientist is touching all these different areas that we have here. So it's not just about statistics, programming, it's more than that. It's about optimization, communication, people management, operations, industry knowledge, sales, among many other skills. So as you can see, it's a quite complete profile, 360 degrees. So there are different types of data scientists, and this is very important also to highlight. Many times, there are a lot of people that ask me, for example, depending on my background, can I become a data scientist? Yes, no, I'm coming from business or I'm coming from technology. What you need to understand also is that there are different types of data scientists on today's businesses. So depending on your previous experience, depending on your skills or your knowledge, you might be able to complement your profile with one skill or other. So here we have different types of skills: programming skills, statistics, maths, business, machine learning, and big data skills. And as you can see, each one of these 4 categories of data scientists have one of these sets of skills more developed than the others. For example, the business person has business more developed in comparison to the developer, which has programming skills more developed than the others. So depending on this background, we will find different types of data scientists in our businesses today. So, well, industry experts are saying a lot of different things about data scientists. I will highlight this 4th quote that we have here today. So, top 5 industries hiring these type of professionals are consulting firms, IT services, manufacturing, finance and insurance, and retail. So these are the industries which are suffering, let's say, the highest impact through data science. So today's world is living a digital transformation. Big data, real-time solutions, cybersecurity solutions, machine learning are part or are key, let's say, to that digital transformation that we are living today. So data-driven business deliver 100 times more personalized customer experience. It's just one fact that we can take from this slide. So here we have these data-driven business models. These 3 companies are data-driven business models: Spotify, Airbnb, Uber. All of you are familiar with these companies, right? So who would like to share maybe what do they have in common? What do you think they have in common in their business model? Platforms. Someone said shared economy, and someone over here said data. I don't know. Who said data here? Okay, yeah, personal preference, collection of data. Yeah, they disrupted, okay, existing businesses, let's say transportation, in this case, hospitality or hotel bookings, here music. And one important fact also is that they are basing that business model in data. So at the end, what we can see these companies have in common is that they have 0 physical assets, each one of them. So Uber is a company that is moving more people in the world, but they have 0 cars. Airbnb is a company that is booking more hotel rooms, but they have 0 hotels. The same case as Spotify with the music studios, or with Netflix. They have 0 movie studios. So as we can see, the new leaders have 0 physical assets, and they have only data. So imagine the amount of new businesses that will continue emerging in the following years related to data management, to data science. So the world has actually changed. So we're living on a new era based on data. Data is eating our world. So well, this is one more example about how data science is transforming our world. This is a self-driving car. So well, basically, this is an example of a connected object based on machine learning. And I would like to close with this slide, that it's one simple thing that our students from our master's degree have done, which is a bot, which is a very simple example of artificial intelligence and how the use of data can help to improve also the interaction between this bot okay, and the final user. So this is improving, as I have mentioned before, the customer experience in this case between the final user and the company based on data science and machine learning. So with that, I would like to close this a quick introduction to the topic, and I will pass the microphone to Özgür. And well, thank you very much for being here today, and I'm sure I will have the opportunity to speak to some of you later on during the business case competition.
Thank you very much, Marcos. So next I'm presenting myself. So some of what I'm going to say is actually going to overlap with what Cengiz Bey talked about. Tabit is, I think, one of our favorite examples, so I will talk about it briefly. And then I will also talk about what data science and data scientist is, because I think there's still a lot of confusion about what it really is. I mean, I have a program in big data analytics, and the students are almost halfway, more than halfway through the program, and there are still some students who are asking me, what is data science, and what am I going to be when I grow up? So we all know data is the future. Tomorrow's jobs are going to be all about data. In fact, I have a favorite example to give. I say in 20 years, there will not be any physical trash collectors. There won't be any men on the street collecting trash. But there will be the lowest type of blue-collar job. That will be data trash collection. These people will be people who know programming, think that's something that you think is a very white-collared skill right now. Most of the data cleaning will be done by AI, deep learning, but there's going to be some non-patterns in the data that will not be easily cleaned by automated systems. So you'll have to have these white-collar programmers who have to write little programs and go clean the data. And I think that's probably the lowest type of job you'll see. Or if you think about law, today there's a lot of different types of law, international law, business law, etc. I think in 20 years, most of law degrees are going to be about data, how data is governed, how people use our data, how we actually own our own data. So if you are in this room, you obviously have seen this trend, but we need to make sure that we become messengers to the rest of the world, that data is really the future. So what's a data scientist? What is data science? What is data analytics? You keep hearing these terms, and I wanted to give my perspective on what I think these are. So data science, similar to what you have shown, Marcos, is a combination of many different skills. But I think what makes data science different than data analytics is the word science. Science means you're actually pushing the boundary of something. You're trying to find something new. You're trying to find innovative ways of doing things that you don't even know possible. Whereas analytics part is actually you have some business problems and you want to solve those problems. And you want to solve those problems using data. So I think that's the key difference between the data scientists and data analytics people. And I think they're both equally important. But since data science and data scientist is a sexier title, you kind of see it more. But don't be fooled. There is a bit of, I think, not brainwashing, but let's call it data washing. Everybody wants to put the word data in front of their title, in front of their company, so that they sound more exciting, more relevant. But it may be an illusion. Just watch out. What's a data scientist? I read somewhere data scientist is a statistician that's living in San Francisco. That's one. And another one said a data scientist is a computer scientist that knows more statistics than an average statistician, or a statistician that knows more computer programming than an average computer programming person. That's kind of like a tongue twister, tekerleme gibi. But at the end of the day, if you want to look at data science, it's actually like you said, there are four ends to this. There is communications, statistics, programming, business. If you only know communications, you're nothing but hot air, right? If you only know statistics, you're a data nerd. If you only know programming, congratulations, you're a hacker. If you know business, I think that's a bit too much, saying that, I know. It's not an accountant. I stole this from somewhere. I don't fully believe in it, but there are some fun parts in it. But at the end of the day, data scientist is the person that can do all four of these things at once. And those of you who are familiar with the startup world would know the terminology unicorn, right? These companies that hit billions of dollars really fast, but they're really hard to come by. And I personally think a real data scientist is a unicorn as well. It's very hard to come by. It's hard to educate. It's hard to find these people. In fact, how many of you are familiar with the job called quants in Wall Street? Quants in Wall Street are people who have actually mostly no training in formal education in finance. These are people with PhDs in physics, PhDs in mathematics. They are extremely smart people. But what happens is when they graduate, a Wall Street company snatches them and puts them through a boot camp for domain knowledge for 6 months, and then they can use their smartness, expertise of, let's say, Brownian motion into how the stock markets work. And a real data scientist is actually these type of people who are very, very smart, who have done their PhDs in some very theoretical and mathematical field. It could be physics, it could be computer programming, it could be statistics, and then you plop them in the middle of the sea of a data and ask them to basically make a new world for us. So I searched on LinkedIn this morning. In the US, there is 8,500 job openings for data scientists. But also, we need to make sure that, again, there is a lot of terminology problems here. You see data scientist, analytics engineer, you will see the word data architect, which actually is a very important part of data science, but it's not a full data scientist. You may have the term data engineer, which is essential, but again, it's part of the solution. In fact, I think a real company that's into this should have a data science group, because you can't have all those four things in one person. That's highly unlikely. You bring like-minded people who can communicate well, and then they create data science for you. I did the same search for Turkey. We got 23 results this morning. And I just wanted to highlight this fun here. Data science engineer, I think they just heard, I mean, I don't want to sound cruel, but it's a bit of two buzzwords in one. But anyways. But at the end of the day, I have been in Turkey for 3 years now, and I have gone through a lot of different companies. All big companies are very aware of the fact that we are in front of this data avalanche, and if you don't know how to deal with it, you're going to be swallowed up by it. So companies are actively trying to figure out what they want to do with it, and I think the market is only going to grow. So that's why you need to go and get degrees from Madrid or Istanbul, but go get a degree, right? Talking about degrees, are there possibilities to get these degrees? In the US, in 2007, there was only one data analytics, thanks to SAS. SAS Institute, in collaboration with North Carolina State University, opened up the world's first analytics center where they were doing one-year bootcamp style master's program. And now we have almost 200 programs in the US only. How are we doing in Turkey? We have 5. Sabancı program has been around, and Bahçeşehir program has been around since 2014 fall. Şehir has a Master of Science in Data Science. That's actually a multi-year program where you have to go there full-time. And that's been going, I think, for 1 year. MEF Üniversitesi, our program, I started last year, and it's just about to graduate its first cohort. And next year, TED University is starting a Master of Science in Data Analytics. And I'm shocked at this, because when I came to Turkey 3 years ago to start the program in Bahçeşehir, I thought within 1 year, every big university, the İTÜ's, the Bilkent's, the Boğaziçi's, everybody would have had a data science program. But the problem with data science is, remember that four-folded thing? That means you have to have multiple departments, almost also multiple faculties, multiple people involved. And I'm an academician, so I can badmouth a little bit. Academicians love to work in silos. So you're a computer scientist, you don't really talk to anybody else from social sciences. Very rarely you do. If you're a social scientist, you're like, oh, I don't care what they're doing in the machine learning program. But in fact, I think we need, in companies, in universities alike, we need to get out of this silo mode. We really, if you want to capture the full meaning of data, every part of a business and every part of a university should be talking to one another. I really want to applaud, there are some grassroots efforts in Turkey. People just gather up and band and say, we're going to do something about data science. I think I want to give a shout out to 2 of these that I know. If you know others, please let me know during the break. One is Veri, Bilimi Istanbul. This is a Facebook group. It's, I think, more than 1,000 people now. And they do a lot of events. They talk about artificial intelligence. They talk about machine learning. They talk about deep learning. They actually do hands-on workshops. So this is a really great resource for those of you who are interested to learn more about data science. And the other one is Data Istanbul. This is, again, a bunch of ragtag students and industry professionals. And they say, you know what? 40 of us are really interested in learning more. And every week they gather and they either find somebody to lecture them on a certain topic, or they actually bring an industry expert and have them tell these group about their industry experience. And for those of you who are looking to hire people, these are also great places to hire people. So I note that. And let's get back to today's main topic, social good. I think when people talk about data analytics, the first thing you think about is a recommendation engine. Like, how can I sell more? The first thing you think about is, how can I do something money related? But in fact, if data is going to be a big part of our life, it should be a big part of our life in a socially responsible way. So in Turkey, we are seeing small blossoms of this, but in the world, there is more of this. This organization is an organization that I really like. It's called DataKind. They have many projects. They have, for example, one project that actually tries to use a system for West African women to give them some basic training on any topic they want through SMS. They have another system, they have another project where they look at streets in Seattle and New York City and look at data to figure out how to make it more safe. They have many projects like this, and I think in Turkey we need to see more of these projects. When we were preparing for this conference, I scratched the surface and I talked to a lot of different organizations. And Tabit was definitely, I mean, she's an exemplary woman. She's definitely the front runner in this social good data for social good in Turkey. But I think that we need to see more of these. I know there are a lot of companies that in Turkey and NGOs that do social good, but they need to be able to marry social good with data. And I really would like to thank TTGV for their sponsorship and leadership in this regard, because they are really providing us this platform and many other platforms to spread the word, if you will. I want to end with this. I think we are in a very dark time. Not in Turkey, but in the whole world. Things are not looking great, but I am an optimist. I believe in the basic goodness of people. I think the next renaissance and reformation is upon us. Maybe not tomorrow, but sometime soon. And I think the manifesto that will be nailed on the coffin on the door of a church is going to be written by data scientists. Thank you. Now I take my presenter hat off and I put my moderator hat on, and we're going to have our 3 panelists joining us. Go ahead. I'll introduce you when you sit down. So let me bring up your presentation. I think you're going to talk during your initial talk. So if you can sit, that'll be easier. I don't want, yeah. see this. So we have 3 speakers this morning, or this afternoon. And what I'm going to try to do is a very lively debate on how we can use data for social good. And we have 3 very esteemed guests here. Gregor from Superpole, and we have Özlem from SAS, and we have Ebru from IBM. We just met, sorry. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to first let them speak for a few minutes and introduce themselves, and then I'm going to ask them a few questions. So, Gregor, we can start with you.
Sorry. So, on this not very round logo. I'm an architect. Been here in Istanbul for the last 10 years. As you might, architects draw. We draw buildings, roads, bridges. Sometimes we draw knives and forks. But of course, we're also citizens in the city, and we think, like, let's say, we constantly question ourselves of how is this city, what is this city? So, one question I will run very quickly through here, like, we asked ourselves, why is there not a Domus or minibus map? Or why is there not here, a bus map? We will be able to get faster around in the city, for instance, is a question we asked. We asked ourselves, you can't see it probably, but is the malls, the 160 malls, is that the future of urban life in Istanbul? We also asked ourselves sometimes if we are, as architects, are planning or designing the city, how can we do that if the social infrastructure is not or still in flux, let's say, that governs the relationship between ourselves? We ask, what does it mean when Istanbul is the 3rd largest Facebook city in the world, still today? And sometimes we ask ourselves, could Istanbul be more healthy?
Yes.
It can, and actually I'd like to, let's say, a positive thing is that you might not imagine, but 75% of Istanbul is bikeable, let's say, at least from an inclination point of view of the roads. Do we have enough green space in the city, and is it easily accessible enough? Some would say no. Let's look at it. Water projects everywhere. This reminds me, or just a note to myself, that I need to call Vestas and say how many wind turbines have they sold in Turkey. What's coming now?
No.
Oops. Lisbon Triennial asked us, what is Gezi? And we provided a graphic for that. We also help artists. Serkan Taycan is an artist that walks on this path that could be the potential canal, and he wonders what will be left once I'm done walking here. Sometimes you wonder, I don't know if this movie will start, but let's see.
Oh, I mean, we might have movie availability, sorry.
Yeah, okay. This book we did, Mapping Istanbul, do we have the right tools really to communicate now? I mean, that bubble that Özgür just showed with empty air, but basically we're interested in how do we communicate data of the city. Is data valuable? Yes. This Mapping Istanbul book was sold for 60 lira when it was just published. Now you can buy it on Amazon for $420.
Good investment.
Yes. We are asked by Columbia University to think about what is the future of cities, and we do that at Studio X. You're most welcome here. So what is the future of the city? We think there is a future that we need to find, and I think that's...
That we'll talk about it, exactly.
I just want to second that we need to find some space between city, online platforms, sharing economy that is kind of truly civic. And that's what we are about.
Great. Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to give a presentation. If you can turn on the mic, Özlem.
Down here?
Yeah.
Hello? Hello?
Can you tap on it? Yeah, perfect.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Özlük. I work as a business solutions manager for analytics in SAS Turkey. I've been with SAS Turkey for the past 6 years. I'm basically an industrial engineer, and I had my PhD in industrial engineering as well. SaaS, I don't know if you heard of SaaS, but...
How many people here know what SaaS is? Let's see a raise of hands.
Not bad.
How many people know what SPSS is? Let's see the rival.
Oh.
All right.
Yeah.
Damn. SaaS is actually, I think,
It's
better
always
than
like this in
SPSS.
universities.
No hard feelings, IBM.
SPSS is IBM. Yeah.
I know, that's what I said.
Yeah, SaaS is founded in 1976, and it started as an agricultural project funded by NSF with North Carolina University. And then in a couple of years, it got so big that it had to be taken out of the university and become an entity by itself. And the starting professor was Jim Goodnight. He's still our CEO. And we are the biggest privately owned business analytics company. Although we mostly work in analytics, we also have footprints in data management, risk, fraud, and we work with customer intelligence clients as well.
Great. Thank you, Özlem. Ebru?
Hello, it's Ebru. I am from IBM. How many of you knows about IBM?
Exactly.
Yes, but IBM changed a lot. I mean, actually, I'm working as a Client Innovation Center Manager in IBM. And I am working in IBM for 20 years, but in consulting, transformational consulting area for 25 years, let's say. And I am now responsible from ecosystem development around the new digital strategy of IBM. Because we all know IBM, because we were having ThinkPads, and we were having nice IBM big boxes, and from some movies. But now IBM, I mean, for the last decade, changed a lot. And digital transformation was the main driver for us. And now how we are defining ourselves, IBM is an industry, cloud, and cognitive company, which means that out of these digital technologies, or digital wind, let's say, there is a huge data. Huge data. So how we are going to host those data? So we need a cloud platform, because nobody can invest one by one to those platforms, to those data centers. And later on, a second question, you have all those data, and what are you going to do with all those data? You need to predict something. You need to create something. You need to turn this data into a real asset. So you need cognitive. That's why IBM tells data, yes, it's very critical. So I need cloud as a platform, and I need cognitive to really get the best use of this data. And a third dimension, like we talked about T-shaped people, and we talked about different requirements in different industries, and we need to create different data scientist point of view for different industries. So industry is important. So when we are going to talk today about social impact, I will refer to new IBM strategy with cloud, cognitive, and focus on industries.
Thank you. Thank you. In fact, when in 2007, the educational part of data analytics, I was kind of awakened to by the SAS initiative. But the industry, I was a business professor, and the industry part of the industry importance of data science, I was actually awakened by IBM. In a span of a year, IBM purchased SPSS, Cognos, and iLog. Yeah. So if you're familiar with the data analytics chart, you have the descriptive analytics, then you have the prescriptive analytics, then you have the predictive analytics. Actually, descriptive, predictive, and prescriptive. And Cognos is a BI software for descriptive analytics. SPSS is there for predictive part, and for prescriptive part, you have iLog, CPlex. So when IBM bought those three companies one after the other, and SAS opened up the institute, I said, this is gonna blow our minds. This is getting big. So I think really, really cool companies. What I want to start our discussion with is, I know your companies are doing some social good stuff, and can you tell us a little bit about, maybe we can start with IBM's Social Good Fellowship. Can you tell us a little bit about that? And if it has any Turkish extensions?
Yes. So, yes, the data is our business, so it's the main of our strategy. But we realize that we need to create a sustainable world economy, a sustainable environment, and a good citizen environment in order to ensure also our business continuity, in order to extend our markets. This is the main reason, actually, companies like IBM investing so much on social good. Why? Because we need to create a sustainable business model. And to create that sustainable business model, we need to invest in environment, we need to invest in women workforce, we need to invest in education, in healthcare. As much as we invest in those items, so we can make sure that IBM grows its business. We can grow ourselves both in terms of the skills that we can get to IBM, recruit to IBM, but also in terms of the market, people that we are going to sell. Companies that we are going to sell may find new skills in the market. So this is the main reason. At the end of today, we have some objectives to extend our business, to extend our market. And we have good skills. We are having good tools, as you said. We are having the market leaders like Cognos, SPSS, good tools that everybody in data science area, in data area knows about them. We have good skills. We are working, we have research centers all over the world, and in those research centers, we are mainly working on the prescriptive part of it. So we understand the data, we work on prediction of it, and we are now trying with the cognitive business change the way the things are done. So IBM wants to turn it into the social benefit. We launched a new program, and this is actually, like you showed in Data Wine, isn't it? It's a Data for Social Good program. And the idea is that IBM fellows are working in research centers focusing on different social issues, social problems, like in healthcare, in education, or I can give you examples later on. And any volunteers can apply for those projects, and then they can create, in a defined project plan, a change program, a digital change program that can have direct research.
And when you say any volunteers, I'm going to interrupt you. Maybe there might be volunteers here. So what are the basic qualifications to be a volunteer?
Yeah,
because I'm sure they don't just pick up anybody off the street.
Sure, you are of course sharing your CV with those
But is it a global application process, or is it just US based?
Currently, it started with US,
okay.
But it will extend. It was just started with main research centers, but from different countries like Turkey, if there are some CVs that are coming to us, we are also sharing with research centers to include them. But it is not currently launched program directly to global. Another thing that we are doing, it's open to everybody, I said, to market. For IBM employees, we also have another program. This is also Data for Social Good program. And we, as employees, are working in a defined time frame in different social projects around data and delivering those projects.
Yeah. Great.
I mean, in 2 months, I will go to China for a healthcare project, which is also related to data.
Great.
So this is also adding a lot of value, both for us to know about how to use data for social good, and also to the society to add benefit.
And I think, Özlem, you guys have a similar program to Data for Good. And in fact, I saw that there's an app too, Gather IQ. Can you talk a little bit about those?
We have recently launched that application. You can download it. You can think of that application as a crowdsourcing of data and volunteers, analyst volunteers. We currently have 2 projects going on in Gather IQ. The first one is the Missing Migrants project, and the second one is related with the earthquake at Nepal. So what happens is we have all the data uploaded in our servers around these projects. So you can go into the application and you can just do some analysis on the migrant data, for example. And then you can come up with the paths the migrants are taking. You can create some insights, what the kind of problems they're facing. And you can share these insights through social media, or you can comment on the other insights that are created by other analysts. That's going very well, actually.
Yeah.
And we have a couple of other initiatives as well that I want to talk about. The second one is around human trafficking. So this is basically started with the US, and we are working with Peacework. So this is an organization with a lot of, again, volunteers and data scientists as well.
Do you know what kind of data there is? Like, how do you look at human trafficking through data?
There is a center that is basically collecting data on human trafficking. This can be people coming from Mexico to the US. So as I said, this is more like a US-based program.
But how do you collect? Do you have any idea how do they collect the data?
I don't know.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry. So what happens is these statisticians in this program are trying to find the factors that are influencing, that are correlating with the human trafficking. So it turns out that the degree of slavery in the 1800s had a huge impact on the human trafficking, or like poverty or like foreclosures in that area are very correlated with human trafficking as well. So at the end of the project, the team delivered a number of areas that the law enforcement officers has to focus on, and turns out that some of these areas are the ones that the officers had no idea about. Yeah. So that was one area, and one thing that we're also working on is on healthcare, of course. This initiative is called the Data Sphere. It's this time a crowdsourcing of all the clinical data, clinical trial data from all the pharmaceutical companies. And the initial project is around finding whether the cancer treatment is working right through the treatment, not waiting for a couple of months after you receive the treatment. And the last one I want to talk about is the data dive. This is sponsored by DataKind and SAS. So we have recently done a gathering in the SAS headquarters in Cary, North Carolina. So what happened is we had around 100 volunteers, data analysts in the headquarters. There were various nonprofit organizations. They came and they presented their projects, their challenges, and the volunteers picked up some projects to work on, and at the end of the weekend they come up with some solutions to the problems. Yeah. So I think that's going to go further.
Gregor, your company is a bit different because these guys were actually sitting on data and then they are like, okay, let's bring social responsibility into this, partly because the business needs to stay sustainable, but yours is a bit different, I think. Did you start out with data right away, or did you actually start with the social part of the project first? And how is the two married now?
No, I mean, I think we are, as I said, we are architects, and our main concern is the city. Yeah. I mean, in this context, right, that we want to figure out how to make the city more livable. Yeah. And for us, that whenever we encounter a problem, then we say, okay, there's an issue here. What kind of data can we gather? And obviously, let's say over the last 10 years, it was not always easy to gather data, right? So obviously, that's got a lot easier. But yeah, as I said, let's say it's more focused about our activity in the city.
Does your team have data analysts, data scientists right now?
Not at the moment, but it goes per project, let's say. So okay. When we do projects, I think I briefly showed here both for Audi and also for MoMA, we have looked at, let's say, different way of let's say, finding data that is not there. Like how are the indicators when we try to figure out how are people moving around the city. So we do have, let's say, on project-specific employees on that.
Yeah. And how available is the data? Because I think when you talk about data for social good, you're talking about social-related data, and how easy it is to get to, especially city-level data.
Yeah. So you can actually write a lecture to the city and ask for specific data.
I know about those.
I guess you all know. It's news to us. But some in the early projects, for instance, the Domus and Minibus, the data collection happened by taking the minibus, right?
Oh, you actually were.
Right.
But did you have a phone or something on, or did you actually write down the data?
We wrote it down. We drew on our maps. Right? That's right. Because we're still very old school. We're architects in that sense. We draw. Right? Yeah. But obviously today, and I think it's already been incorporated in, I think there's a City Mapper app where they also have incorporated the minibus and Domus into that. But I know from being able to do that, they still actually took the buses. Of course, the city has the whole thing, GSB, like on GPS
exactly.
data, but they're not sharing, right?
Yeah.
So, but talking about sharing, so we actually through some of these projects now we're working with EBB to create some spaces for sharing data. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, I'm curious. Can you talk a little bit about that?
So there's two initiatives. One is called a data lab or open data lab, which will start as a EBB's own in-house training center to work with open data, and then slowly they will invite let's say the public into the public. The other one is called the living lab, which will be more a public phase of the municipality.
There's one in Başakşehir, I think, right?
Yes, and we're at the moment working on moving those into the center because Başakşehir is a little bit far away. So we're working in two spaces in the metro system, actually, in the city. So that will be other platforms for sharing data.
I think this open data issue is really big, and you guys are really sitting on data, I think. So what is SAS's and IBM's perspective on making data available to people who want to work on it? Because like crowdsourcing is a big thing. Also, just putting the bright minds from wherever from the world is really big. I mean, it's nice. Kerry is a very nice place, but I don't think they would want to fly everybody who wants to work on data to Kerry. So what do you think?
I mean, we're going to see a lot of cloud things happening in the future. I mean, like you said, cloud is going to be the future. So I'm thinking of crowdsourcing the data on the cloud, and then basically having the data scientists' applications on the cloud so that analysts can just log in anywhere, anytime they like, and then do their analysis and then share on any platform that they like.
For us, this is the biggest issue, managing the data in silos. For example, when we are talking about smarter cities, as much as you have the integrated data, you can go to the right results because you can make a relation in terms of the events, in terms of everything, and even you can prevent things, emergency management, for example, but we cannot because everybody wants to keep their own data. So when we are coming to the change in the professions, data scientists, etc., this requires also a huge cultural change in overall digital business management model. So you cannot keep, yes, of course data is an asset, but it can only be valuable as much as you share it. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. I mean, there are a lot of data in everywhere, and if you want to analyze anything, you can reach out, but they want to keep it separate and no correlation between them. This eliminates us to also work effectively in social issues, especially in social issues. Another item is that IBM is lucky because we are in agreement with different social media partners like Twitter. We can make sentimental analysis or we can make some analysis of the news that people are sharing. And this is a very live data. And this can give you a good guidance on if you are changing a bus route, for example. You can just learn like this how many people is affected and how much business will be affected out of it. So those kind of things help us, of course, but this cultural change of data management and this digitalization requirements is essential for us too.
Yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that the data ownership is going to be a big issue, but since the current owners of data are very unlikely to open up the data anytime soon, because I have had this talk with one municipality, I won't name which municipality, and the guy flat out said, we will not share any data with anyone. And I'm like, why? He's like, oh, cybersecurity. I'm like, okay. But so how can we grow new platforms for data sharing? Do you guys have any ideas on that?
As I said, actually, we need to arrange new business models. It's about changing, for example, Uber. It's all the platform is there. It needs to have a high security, yes, but it's totally different business model. So if we are doing the same things through the same processes, only with digitalization or automation, this will not work. The thing is we need to make sure that people should understand through the value chain of their business, what is flowing is not goods, are the data. So the real value is about the data that flows, from to the customer. It's not about, the electronic machine or whatever you are producing in your factories. So this is the essential cultural change, and it needs to have a change culturally top and down. and bottom up. Of course, data scientists give us with the new education and with the new approach will open the mind of the new skills. So we are expecting, we are having high expectation from the new generation because they will, bring some new ideas. But also, as a leadership, we need leaders to invest more on this understanding data and how we can make the world digital to create value.
Yeah. How about SAS students? Like, what is their take on this data openness, and are there any platforms?
I think the most important thing there is if you can share the value you get out of the data, I think people will be more inclined to share whatever data they have. I see that data sharing is an important issue, like you guys said. But I mean, it has to, we have to start changing our mindsets about this. And as long as we start, like I said, showing the value, I think things will start to change.
Yeah. And like, I don't know if you know Move It. Do you guys think of any apps like that in Istanbul where we can get more crowdsourced data? Or I saw a smile there, so I'm sure there's a story with that smile.
I mean, we speculate, right? Since we don't have the data, we speculate on what data could really do, which puts me again in the kind of this bubble of you showed earlier, but where we just communicate data. But so I think we need definitely to be in touch with you guys, right? But
in fact, IBM I think has a lot of smart city initiatives, so yes, that might be a good match there.
I mean, we have worked on an idea for actually again Başakşehir here, but how we can, let's say, provide a more sustainable form of living in many of these compounds where, let's say, compared to the older Istanbul city where the level of informality or self-management is very high, suddenly we in the periphery move to the complete opposite model where there is an extreme degree of control in these environments. You cannot plant a tomato, right? It's kind of, and I think, or that's our hope or our proposal, or let's say our dream is that we could actually create some kind of platform that can both facilitate growth, like sustainable growth for the people, for the families that live in these areas. Because they're a little bit, I mean, we let's say when we look in a city, we believe we're a little bit disenfranchised when you're on the periphery. You don't work there, you just commute back and forth. But these areas need to become
more bigger part of the city.
They need to become city themselves. So I think there is a room for platforms or data to, let's say, look at those situations and see what kind of new, let's say, non-Uber models can we find.
I have one more question to ask, but we have a lot of time in my mind, so I'm going to crowdsource a few questions. So if you have a couple of questions for our brilliant panelists, I'd love to hear that questions on the intersection of data analytics and social impact, social good. And if you want, I'll pass the microphone on whoever wants to.
Can I share something?
Of course, yeah.
As IBM, we have a big data university. If you search like big data university, and if you enter, you can have the trial of all the products, and there are also some data set that you can work on it. So it's a good environment, and there's also developer works. If you also search developer works, you can also reach out. This is open to all developers. This is open to all data scientists, and you can take training out of it. And for universities, academicians, and students, if you enter on the hub/IBM, you can reach as student and academicians all IBM products, services in cognitive and analytics areas. And as Innovation Center Manager, my mission is to extend our ecosystem. So we are hosting, the meetups, different developer communities. Our door is open to everyone, and you have our numbers, my contact through LinkedIn as well. So please reach out. And we are working with different NGOs, and if you have any idea to a social problem that we can work together to solve, we are willing to evaluate that for Turkey specifically.
After the last question, I'll give you more chances to plug. And if you have any questions, yes, let's pass. If you can come up, and I'll give you the microphone. It's okay. I'll just jump.
Thank you for your presentation, for all of you. My question is for Mr. Architect. I'm an architect as well, by the way. And I want to understand, have you established or finished any, or accomplished any model on the city in Istanbul? Have you developed anything that actually solved a problem? Or I'm interested to know how data can solve it.
Maybe you can pass it to the next person.
Yeah, so in a way that comes down to a professional question, right? Is that I think as an architect that we have boundaries to some degree due to our skills, right? So as a profession, we're trained as to visualize the future of what the building could look like, right? And similarly, we are visualizing what we think could be a future for a city, for a country, for a building. But it also means that we never follow through that, right? We don't, even when we draw a building, we don't go and hammer in the nails ourselves, right? So, I mean, that can be the pitfall of our profession, right? We don't go and code ourselves how to do the plumbing system, right? Hopefully we can find the right partners to do these things, right? So that's where we are looking for partners to figure out how we can put some of these ideas into use. But we also see our role sometimes just to ask the questions and not necessarily to
answer them.
Yeah, hands-on or do the troubleshooting. I think other better people can do that and actually bring the real solutions to place.
I think he has a follow-up.
I understand from you. I just want to give a reply on this. Last week, by chance, I was in a meeting with one professional in Boğaziçi University regarding solving the dolmuş issue, especially in Istanbul. So they are trying to create a alliance that is data-driven. So how the people are moving from their houses to metro lines, especially. So they are taking 2 points as the home and the metro, and they are trying to regenerate the bus route regarding this. So it might be, I will talk
I think you should
after
put
the
those representatives in contact with Gregor.
It might be useful to use your data for their actual project because they are doing
this is all about connections. So the more connections this meeting makes, the better it is. Let's take one more question, then I'll go to my last question. We have somebody here.
Thank you very much for the presentations. I will ask 2 questions to Özlem Hanım and Ebru Hanım. By the way, I'm an SPSS user.
Then Özlem won't answer your questions now.
Yeah. So I have some concerns about those social good fellowship program-like units. Can you explain a bit more about your team working on that departments, for instance? Is there any social scientists in the teams? It was my first question. And the second one is, okay, we know we collect data about immigrants or maybe about women empowerment level in each country, but do your companies also involve in the process of policy making or the advocacy processes? So if you have some, can you mention about those processes as well? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Actually, at the beginning, at the keynote speaker, our keynote speaker told about this data, design, and digital. So the social, you said social scientists. Social scientist is the design part of it, and it's very critical for us. Me, myself, I'm a sociologist, and I'm an organizational science PhD. So, and I'm working for 20 years in IBM. So you see, so all business transformations, we think that design is critical, and in order to have that, you have to have social capabilities, social design people. When we are working in those kind of projects, for example, we did one in Turkey actually. It is for the migration, problem. We worked with Assam, and we analyzed the data of the migration from Syria and what are the issues that those people are missing, because even finding out who are those people, what are their qualifications was an issue. When doing that project, IBM is lucky because we have also a global business consultancy department. And this consultancy department have both industry and practice knowledge. In each of those projects, we are involving someone having capability from our SME, because we are the analytics around where are the SMEs in different parts of the world. We are getting guidance from them in order to also give meaning to data. And in order also, for example, we are using business governance experts in order to shape the data governance model. Because you can do data analytics, you can analyze and understand data once, but governance is the main issue. You cannot, replicate that again and again. For example, there is also, and in different projects, as I told, we are also working as volunteer, as a part of the corporate social responsibility as IBMers, and they are looking to our experience in different industries, in different areas. If there are projects that we did in agriculture, they are sending us to Kenya to do that project. I am going, because I have experience in healthcare area for a transformation project, I will go to China for that project. So we are shaping, and because design is very important, we are using a designer, we are using a business and industry expert, and also, of course, technical expertise, data expertise. Yeah. So this is the model how we manage.
Thank you. So I have to admit at this stage, most of the things that are happening are in the US, in SAS headquarters. We have a very big, professional services team. You can think of them as global consultants, and they're doing projects around social issues, like I mentioned before. There are some other projects that they are doing, they're working with wildlife conservation companies, and they're trying to track the endangered species and then trying to find how they can solve, how they can help them not to go extinct. And we also have another project around Zika virus, probably about Zika virus. So we are basically analyzing the spread patterns of the virus, and our objective is to find the next outbreak before it happens. So there are a lot of things coming along, and SAS is always providing the software at no cost and the platform at no cost. So we can just dump the data in there and then work with our consultants on the data.
Great. So I'm going to end with one final question to all of us. The question I want to ask is, so we want data to improve our lives from a social perspective. And if let's be utopic, let's play Pollyanna, let's be optimists. What is one major social project you would hope that data will solve us in the future? In fact, to let you think a little bit, I'm going to give my answer first. Before the conference, Josep and I were talking about different companies, and he mentioned this one company that looks into food waste, and I thought it's brilliant. I recently heard this figure that in England, in the UK, every day 1.5 million bananas are thrown away. When I first read it, I'm like, this is nonsense. It was coming from Guardian, so it was like a very reliable source. And when I dug a little further, I found out that in the US, 40% of the food is thrown to waste. Food waste is a huge problem. And when you consider how much of the world is starving every day, it's even more mind-boggling. So I'm hoping that using data, and in fact there is one company apparently trying to do something about this, using data we can find ways to waste food less. And I'm going to open up a parenthesis and say, in Turkish, bayat ekmekleri uzatmayın, yiyin arkadaşlar. Now I'm going to pass it down to you guys. Who wants to take the first shot?
Okay. So I think, we also have a saying in Turkey around health, So I think healthcare, any study around healthcare is very important. I think for me that's the first area that comes to my mind.
This Zika one, do you know how far are they in the study? The Zika virus study that you were talking about?
I think they have gathered the data and they started the analysis, but I don't know. Okay. Sorry. So with the healthcare, we're also talking about big data with the healthcare because we have millions or maybe billions of patient records coming in. So if we can host a platform that collects all these patient records so that you can find a treatment before it's too late, I think it's very important. Or the virus thing is another thing that's very important. Anything around healthcare, I think, is very key. I was also thinking of the operational systems of the hospitals, like how many nurses you're going to need, how many doctors you're going to need, how you're going to schedule them. So anything that you can provide around healthcare, I think it's very important.
Great. Ebru?
Yes, healthcare is very important. By the way, we are doing it with Watson for skin cancer, and it's a good progress to predict how to choose the right treatments.
Yeah, in fact, I heard that Watson has this capability where it goes through the newly published cancer papers every day, and it creates a little summary of all the papers and all their results. So if you're a cancer related researcher or an oncologist, you can actually gather what's being gathered so far really easily. Yeah,
wherever you are in the world, you can put because there's also image recognition system, and through those images, it can make the, it can understand the issue and put the treatment in place, which is very, very, it makes us optimistic about the future, of course. What I will say, because you said we can be utopic.
Exactly, utopic, exactly.
Now we are doing with data in Twitter, in other areas, some sentimental analysis to better understand what the people just in front of us thinks about the current situation, what are the real sentiments. I would like to do that in an online, real-time manner when we are talking to each other, even. And it's easy to collect that data, actually, because you can record the voice with the voice recognition system, etc. But because I think the most important problem in our society is empathy, lack of empathy.
And when you're texting, it's very hard to empathize because somebody might have written something with the best intentions or with the worst intentions.
Yes.
Depending on your mood, you read it very differently.
Yeah, that's why you need voice recognition, because data is not only the data. The data is the face recognition, data is the image, data is the video, data is everything and everywhere. So if we can use them all to understand each other, at least, this can change a lot.
That's great. Thanks, Ebru. Super.
Okay, I think my wish would be very short. I think we just need a data wiki.
That's a good one. Actually, I know several people in the US are trying to work on that. Like, there are small ones, but they always, there is always a catch. Like, there's a free part, but then if you want anything more.
But, if we are dependent on data on everything we do in the future, then it should be accessible to everyone.
No, Data Wiki is a great idea, and I'd like to thank all of our panelists for their wonderful discussion. And I think we have a nice break of, we're a bit early. Do you want to take, if there are any more questions, we can take a few more questions. If not, we have a question here.
Thank you very much. And the question, I had another question, but this I believe is more important. We talked about data scientists and data engineers, and there was single mention of Watson. How does the AI fit into the whole picture? We have a big chunk of data here, and we need to make some sense out of it. Okay, we have people, very capable people, whose basically our requirement as business people from them is to, make some meaning out of this and show us the way of future. But how does AI fit into this? And in a world of more accessible or cheaper or wider spread AI, how does this put data people in?
Yeah, no, I agree.
What's the role in the data people in that?
So is the question, once AI becomes more prevalent, what will happen to the data people? Is that the question?
So what's the role of AI
in the okay, all right.
There was only one mention of AI.
All right, all right.
We're starting to do a lot of investments in the AI industry, in SaaS. My personal point is AI is important, but I think people are never going to be irrelevant. So we're always going to need people. And at least to direct the AI, we are going to need people and to make them to learn the initial stuff. So that's my opinion on AI. Yes.
Ebru, what do you think?
For AI, for augmented, we are calling it not artificial, even augmented intelligence, because as Özlem said, it's an adding value to man mind. You need to have 360 view of the whole data required in order to get an idea about the situation. So it's not one-sided, one pool of data that we are talking about, but the whole round of data. And this whole round of data with trends and action. So we need data analyst people, data engineer people, a data governance model in order to understand the whole what's going on. Even when we are talking about this Watson, you know, the cancer, the skin cancer issue, we are currently even giving, for example, 99%, 98%, there's still 1% that can depend to other factors. So the 360% data is very critical, and data scientists that will give this meaning to data, that will set the rules to give the meaning to data is very, very important. And as I said, we are saying not artificial intelligence because we really don't believe to AI. We really believe on augmented intelligence that will help us. And in everywhere we are using it, even in education, you know, but we need teacher. But education, artificial intelligence can help to customize and personalize the education system, but we will always need the teacher, the touching points. So this is currently our strategy. I don't know in the future what will happen. Maybe instead of me, a robot will be talking to you. So I'm not sure currently with my...
Gregory, do you want to add anything? Let me say a few things. First of all, AI will not really work unless you have tons and tons of data, right? Because it can't do anything without it. So, yeah, that's exactly, yeah. If you have a lot of data, that's good. And the other thing is AI can do some things, but like you said, it's more augmentation at this point, at least, for the next 5, 10, maybe 20 years. Who knows what's going to happen next, but I want to give you, I don't know if you know, Google at some point, 6, 7 years ago, tried to predict flu epidemics in the US. Do you know about this story? Google had a website called Google.org, and there they claimed, they actually not claimed, they proven to CDC, Center for Disease Control in the US, that they could predict flu epidemics in the US before the epidemics hit the hospitals. How? Because when you catch the flu, do you go to the hospital right away? No, you search. You say, I have a headache, I have a fever, this and that. And by looking at how prevalent those searches were, Google was able to identify what the epidemic was like. But then, after 2 years of successfully running the algorithm, the third year, they had a major problem. Because what happened is college basketball was also very prevalent in some places where flu was very prevalent. So to the computer, there was no difference between those two terms. They were both searched very highly when there's a flu epidemic, so they were indicator of a flu. In fact, college basketball meant something very different. So unless we have enough data and unless we have somebody supervising the models that are created now, it's going to be hard for AI to completely muscle its way in. But my, again, utopic hope is that in 50 years, AI will do all the work, we'll have a universal income, and we'll do arts, music, sports.
Actually, just one article I read recently. It's written by Andrew Moore in Georgia Tech. He makes a very conservative assumption about the number of smart devices by the year 2025. Not really 20 billion or 50 billion as some popularly predicted. And he just makes a very simple analytics. Assumption is true, 15 billion smart devices. What's inside? Artificial intelligence, data analytics, chaos mathematics, predictions, statistics, and this and that. And then he predicts by the year 2025 what will be the demand for mathematics and algorithms, and who will supply this demand in the world by the year 2025. It's very interesting. It distributes into different countries with different capabilities, and I think for every decision maker, it's a must read.
Do we have any other questions? Yeah, we have one here.
My curiosity is about quantum computing, how it's going to affect the whole data science area. I know the IBM opens also quantum computers on cloud.
Quantum computing, I have read one, like 2 pages article on it, so I can't speak on it at all.
Yeah.
But if you need quantum computing, I think, yeah. If there is anybody in the room who wants to talk about quantum computing briefly, that would be great. Thank you, Josep.
Well, I'm advancing myself, so let me introduce myself one moment. I'm Josep Curto, and I will be leading the case in just a few minutes. So we are living in really an amazing situation where we are combining from one side software and algorithms, and from the other side, the whole revolution is based on quantum computing. So let's put it this way. Well, do you know what it is? Probably not. Let's just summarize a little bit. Nowadays, our computers are just based on zeros and ones. We switch off and switch on the lights. That's all. So at the end, we are just using this binary system. Okay? What if we can go beyond? What if instead of having just 2 states, we have 3? Can you imagine having 3? It would be awesome, because the power, the amount of operations that we can do, it will increase. But come on, just 3? Let's jump to 4, to 5, to 6. So what is happening is not one company, but many of them, they are betting on this. Because one of the limitations of our algorithms is the amount of operations that we can do with the processors. So, and the good part, because I study mathematics, is that all the theory behind quantum computing, it's already made. We have the algebra behind. What is behind the algebra that our computers is using is already made. So it's the same thing. We already have the algebra, but what we are lagging behind is transforming all our algorithms into this new algebra. So what is happening right now, for example, IBM, what they did is to, they open this initiative where they have a 5 qubits quantum computing to all researchers. Because what they want for them is like, come on, are you able to recreate all those algorithms to analyze, customer data, to analyze social movements, to analyze product transactions into this new world where everything will be faster? And well, can we imagine a future where we will have computing at the speed of thought? So this is what quantum computing will be in the future. So it's not just IBM, there are other companies that are betting on that, and it takes steps. We are this is baby steps right now, but it will come.
Great, thank you. Anybody else? Well, we have time for one more question. I heard that if you wait 15 seconds, my question will pop up.
We have municipality, we need municipality data.
I know, we all do. That's why I think if no one has questions, I'm going to end it by wishing that there is a data wiki and everybody opens up. Oh, there's actually a question. Perfect. Or me a wish. Who knows? Great.
In 2014, there was a TED talk that was found very interesting about GDP calculation, and how GDP calculation, as we have come to know, is so old school, and it's not really neither descriptive nor predictive nor prescriptive of the problems of the globe as we know it. So how do you see countries using data, let's say, in a smarter and more sustainable fashion, and how do you see this indices of economic? Maybe I can just throw it out there. I don't know if there's an answer.
It's a big question.
Yeah, it's a big question.
I think we'll discuss it during the break, unless you have very good answers. Yeah. Well, thank you very much for your time, everyone. We're going to take a 20-minute break, and we'll be back here at 4 o'clock. And thank you, our panelists. See you after the break at 4 o'clock.